Hey YouTube, and welcome back to my channel, Queen Tasha TV. First off, I just want to say thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel. You guys rock. And to everybody that's left such wonderful, positive comments on my renovation and tour video. I appreciate everything, and I have more videos to come. And today I am going to be talking about my work camping and barter camping experiences that I've had, and hopefully give you guys some tips on how you guys can make money on the road. In the United States, work camping is a combination of work and camping. A work camping combines part-time or full-time pay or volunteer work with RV and tent camping. Work campers generally receive compensation in the form of a free campsite, usually with free utilities and additional wages. While year-round work camping jobs do exist, many work camping positions are just seasonal. Work camping positions can include working at campgrounds, RV resorts, mobile home communities, Christmas tree and pumpkin sale lots, amusement parks, hotels, motels, national parks, state parks, U.S. Army Corps, national monuments, lighthouses, retail stores, food service, sales, festivals, circuses, etc. So first, I'm going to tell you about my first work camping experience, which was working for Amazon in their Camperforce program. The Amazon Camperforce program brings together a community of enthusiastic RVers for seasonal work camping job opportunities, usually around the fall and winter holidays. The responsibilities will be in the areas of picking, packing, stowing, and receiving at an Amazon warehouse. With the Amazon Camperforce program, one can earn up to $15 an hour or more, working full-time hours, and up to $550 per month for RV campsite expenses. And they brought, the only location that was available was Hebron, Kentucky. And, my RV park was in Indiana, and it was cold, it was winter, going into winter. I went in November during the pre-Thanksgiving holiday festivity seasonal time, and I only was there for 6 weeks, and basically what they did that year that I had started doing it, they had just raised Amazon's minimum to $15, which I don't know how people were doing it for less than that before, because the work is grueling, especially if you're not used to those type of movements in your body. Like if you're used to sitting down a lot or driving a lot, it's unfamiliar movement, and it's on concrete, and it's uncomfortably cold in there and dusty, but plus you're $15 an hour, and you're working full-time hours. You work 4 10-hour shifts, and then they leave the 5th day open so that if they call for either voluntary overtime or mandatory overtime, then that's how you would get that extra. Which when I was there, they didn't start doing that until like maybe 2-3 weeks before, so probably half the time, because I was there for about 6 weeks. So I think for the last 2-3 weeks there was overtime, and so that was a nice little bonus on my check. But I was in the return center, or the return warehouse where stuff comes back, and they put the Camperforce people in the Kindle department. So basically what we were doing is testing the Kindles to see if they were really broken or not, and if they weren't, then we tried to refurbish them, and they would go through like all these step processes, and each of us would be at a station that would take care of one part of the process, and there were so many steps, I don't remember, but it happens pretty successfully, pretty frequently. But that position just got too hard on my knees, because it was just standing the whole time, and I would try to dance back and forth and try to keep moving, but my knees was not liking that, and the mats that they had They were really uncomfortable. So I was like, there's no reason for me to torture myself. Being here, I volunteered to come here, and I could easily go. And so I was like, I need to switch to something where I'm walking around. And so when I did that, when I asked for that, they were accommodating. And I went to a department where once everything's refurbished, I believe, or things come back from like different, I don't know where all this stuff is coming from, to be honest, but we would take those things and sort them. So it was all of like Amazon's like electronic Kindle related things, including like the Echo and the things that you talk to, and the tablets and all kind of stuff. And so that ended up being more pleasant. I mean, overall, I'm glad that I found it. This is Mr. John. He was my carpool ride back and forth to work, and he was so cool. He had the best stories, and he taught me a lot about RV life, and I can't believe that he was 83 doing this. So yeah, that was my Amazon experience. That was the working part. And then, so as far as this, where I stayed, so they paid for the campground, and so that meant I had a spot, and pretty much everybody in the campground that we were in was working for Amazon. Like, that was one thing that they mainly like blocked off. I don't know if there was anybody else there that wasn't working for Amazon. I'm pretty sure everybody that was where we were parked. And it was right on the river between Indiana and Kentucky. And so in my backyard, like behind my RV, was the river, and there was like a ferry that like would go every day. It was interesting. And it provided electric, so I had my 30 amp plug, and then it also had another 110 plug, which became useful because I only have 30 amp and you can only run one space heater. But I needed two, so I ran the other one outside and then brought the line inside so I could have two space heaters inside, because it was cold and it was very uncomfortable. It snowed like the first 2 weeks that I was there. It snowed, and I hadn't seen snow come down out of the sky in real life in a long time. I've been living in places where it doesn't snow, thank goodness. Yeah, they pay for all that, and it comes with the water, the electric, the sewer. There was Wi-Fi, but it was kind of weak, so I mainly just used my hotspots to stream stuff and get on the internet. But the service was good, good enough for me to be able to do that. And yeah, so that was basically my first work camping. So I got paid to work for Amazon, and they paid for my campground. That's one way of doing it. The other ways are normally working for an RV park or campground, state park or anything like that, and basically you're on their property and you're working for them usually. So like you would be doing something around the park that would help the park in exchange for a free spot, and a lot of those times it's just volunteer, like it's just a trade-off, just so you can have a free place and you can park up, but a lot of them pay you on top of that. So you either work the amount that you need to pay for your thing, and everything after that they give you, or you just make a salary and you get to park. There's so many different ways that I've run across, and I'll put the resources in the description below of like different places that you can go and find work camping positions. It's one way to be able to go and explore somewhere if you want to be there for a couple of months and have somewhere free to stay, because free is the theme of today, and have the amenities that you need if you need those, and make money, or just give back, just give back to the community by just giving your time. It's good experience. You get to be in nature most of the time for a lot of those positions. I haven't done one of those yet. That's what I'm hoping to book on my travels, is a short-term work camping position at one of those things, just because I want to give back to the community. And hopefully I can find one that pays too. That would be nice, a little extra gas money. So that is my work camping experience thus far. So once I left Amazon, I had enough money stacked up from doing that because I had really no expenses outside of like food and my cell phone bill. So all that money that I made, I was able to just stack up. And so I decided I was going to take a couple months off and go visit my family in North Carolina, which is where I'm at now, and just chill out there. But I knew that time was going to run out, and I really didn't want to spend the rest of the winter in North Carolina. So I just got creative with an idea, especially under pressure. I was parked at my sister's house, and the HOA basically told me I had to leave. So I went back over to my brother's house, which seemed straight at the time. But I knew that I just didn't want to be here. It was cold and it was uncomfortable. So I decided, let me be creative and try to figure out how to get a free place to park, and with the connections, even if it was 110, water, and I didn't need sewer. I don't need sewer basically because I had a compost toilet, a homemade compost toilet at the time. So I only had a gray tank, and I used biodegradable soaps and natural soaps. So basically it's a very clean gray water. And I didn't really know what I was gonna do, but the work camping thing at that time, because after I left Amazon, I was like, oh, I was very intrigued by that lifestyle, and I was like, let me see if I can find something. Well, at the time, it was like right in the middle of a season. So the seasons for work camping are like, I believe it's April to October, and then October to March, or November to March, or something like that, is when, you know, they hire and then people are working their contract. And I was like in the middle of that. It was like January. So I knew I wasn't going to find something immediately. I tried, I checked, I went through all the different websites that had jobs posted. I applied to a bunch of stuff, but unfortunately it was just I would have been able to get something for the next season, but not right now. And right now was the time that I needed to go. So I just put an ad on Craigslist in several different desirable places, mainly in Florida, because I wanted to go back to Florida and officially be a snowbird. I put an ad in the housing wanted section, and I was very blunt with what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, and it was basically, I can offer all of these different services. Here's all of my skills. These are all the things that I'm good at or that I feel is valuable and to trade for a free spot, either in the driveway, backyard, whatever, that I can run my electric cord to and run my water hose to. And I have 100-foot version of both of those, so I don't have to be that close to the house. And I was like, I put my picture, I put a picture of my rig. I've done it in both rigs, this one and my last one, and a picture of my dog. And respectfully, but disrespectfully so, I got a lot of creepers, for sure. A lot of people, a lot of creepers. There's still a lot of creepers on Craigslist, but there are still a lot of people that genuinely still fuck with Craigslist, depending on what market you're in. And in Florida, it is still used for a lot of things, you know. So I just took a wild shot. It was a combination of different things that I had came up with in my mind on scenarios of where I could go to get out of North Carolina, hopefully go somewhere warm, and either make some money or be able to sit and be there for free, so I won't have to worry about needing to make money, because I still had money to work with from working from Amazon and getting tax money back and stuff like that. So I wasn't worried about like working. I was just worried about having somewhere free to stay, so I wouldn't burn through that little bit of money to for accommodations. So I put an ad, and I did get, on the first try, I did get quite a few relatively serious ones, and then one that after talking to the person, that I felt comfortable about it and I knew that it would work out. Barter camping is an agreed upon exchange of your unique skills or services for a free place to park and hook up with electric, water, etc. But for short term, similar to work camping but with private people at their homes and or workplace. So my first barter experience was from a response from the Craigslist ad, and it was basically a guy who he's like an old school investor, property flipper type person, and he had a couple of properties in the northern part of where I used to live. So I used to live in St. Pete, and so like in counties north of that, but on the west part of Florida. So yeah. And so he had a property in Crystal River, which I had never heard of until he told me about it. It's very, very north of Clearwater in St. Pete, but it's still on that coastline before you go to the little panhandle. And he said that he had, he had flipped the house, but he lived 2 hours away, and so he had just put a bunch of he had got a bunch of expensive landscaping done because he was trying to sell the house, but he lived far away, and so he wanted somebody to basically be there as a presence, so that nobody broke into the house or anything like that. It wasn't in that type of neighborhood where that would happen, but and then also be there to show the property. And if anybody came by or was interested, because he was doing for sale by owner. I was like, that's pretty cool. And then he was like, but then I also have another property if you don't like that property. I have a property in Hudson that is on the canal, and his brother he has like several different lots, and he's buying up all the lots. Had a lot that was actually an RV lot. It had a 50 amp plug, it had water, it had sewage, and it was right on the canal. With the first one, he offered me the opportunity that if I was able to help him sell it for sale by owner by showing it and getting a buyer interested, and that I could make a commission off that. So obviously I wanted to do that one first. So I made the moves to get down there, and so basically the first one, which was in Crystal River, that's where I decided to go. It was a huge lot. I think it was like 2.13 acres, and it had a huge house on it. I can't remember the square footage of the house, but it was beautiful. They redid it really nicely, and basically I was parked in the driveway, I guess, and there was a 50 amp plug there, so I got 30 amps, because I'm not going to go through that whole electrical transition, but I got full power, and I had my water, and I did the drain out into the forest, and I was able to have access to the house. So I mainly just used the bathroom in the house, and only used my compost toilet for emergencies. And I house sit it basically. I helped sell the property. I did several open houses, and basically I was the only one there. I was there to represent him. He came up every once in a while to do different things, but basically I was there to tend to the property and help, get rid of the house. And that was value enough for me for him to pay for my electric, and I ran my air conditioning. Okay, it was hot. At some point it got hot. It went from winter to mild winter to back to spring really quickly once I got there, because I got there in March of 2019, and I stayed there till about April, and then I went to Hudson. So I also watered the plants all around the house, which there was a lot, and it took forever to do that. And I was also watering the grass as well as mowing it. I got to ride on the ride mower. I did that at that property. That was really fun. It was very secluded, and like it was close to everything that was in Crystal River, but also like off the beaten path, because nobody would know that house was back there unless you knew that there were houses down that street. The only people that knew there was houses down that street were the church in front of it, because there was a huge like mega church right in front of the house. And they would come out the back and they would use that road, which there was only like maybe 5 or 6 houses that were spread out on that road. So you would only be coming down that road if you knew somebody down that road. And it was secluded. I was able to get a lot of things done. I didn't have to worry about working, which was nice because I had stacked up on some change. And I was definitely focused on trying to help him sell this house so I could get a little commission off of that. That would have been dope. I did not end up having to sell the house. The main issue was with the house was beautiful. Everybody loved the house. They loved the house. They loved the lot. But there was no garage. And it was frankly overpriced for no garage, I guess. So I was like, oh, I'll go to Hudson. And what I was going to do for him in Hudson as the trade is he had 2 dry camping lots on the canal that I pitched a Airbnb money opportunity to him for. And we talked it out, and he agreed that would be a good exchange, so that I would manage the Airbnbs and we would split the profit in some way. And so I went down there and I stayed in the lot that actually had the hookup and everything, and I set up the Airbnbs. Like, I took the pictures, I went and walked around the town to see where there was things to do, to educate myself on that area. So because we were right near Hudson Beach, we were near a lot of the restaurants that people go to watch sunsets and stuff. It was a nice little part of town. It was definitely a redneck part of town. But anyways, back to the subject. So I was managing the Airbnb spots, and they were basically dry camping spots. And I just wanted to test it out. I mean, I didn't know if this was going to be a thing, but he wanted to see if it was an opportunity, because if it was, then he would add amenities, you know, if people were wanting to come there. So that was basically our exchange and a trade. And I was there at that location from April to about the beginning of June, which is when I left. So from January to June, at that point I hadn't paid any living expenses, if that makes sense. So I decided to spend the summer or hurricane season in Florida, in Maryland. So I went home, and that's where I'm from. I went to my mom's house and parked my RV, and it was in a neighborhood, so I didn't want to make it seem like I was living in there. So I basically just moved into my mom's house, and I stayed with my mom from June to November. Yeah, that was a long time. So graciously, through living with my mom, I did not have to pay rent there. And then I got Purple Palace, and I was like, I'm not doing winter in Maryland. That's why I left Maryland. Went back to Florida. So I did the exact same thing. I put an ad on Craigslist in the housing wanted section, and this time I was more specific about like what I wanted and where I wanted it. And this time around I actually got way less creepers. I did get a lot of creepers, but way less creepers than serious. Like, I got a lot of serious, really good opportunity. I had the opportunity to be in Riverview, which is closer to St. Pete, Tampa area, and I just knew I could make money there, and that's where I love to be. That's where my actual residence is, or not where I live, but my my permanent residence is in Florida, in the Pinellas County area. The opportunity that I ended up taking up was, and there were several other ones, but the opportunity that I ended up taking up was basically another kind of house sitting thing, but they were working on the house currently. So there was a lot of things unfinished and it had been abandoned for years, but it was on like a main street. Basically they just wanted me to just sit outside to make sure nobody came and vandalize and just be a presence on the property so that it looked like, you know, it wasn't abandoned, or that, you know, people could come and do sneaky stuff at night when they left at night. And so that was basically the exchange, and it would have worked out great if there was power. I was supposed to be getting electric and water in exchange, and they didn't have that set up. And when I got there, they had no clue when it was gonna come on. But I should probably look for something else. So I reposted in that area specifically and got more responses. I had a guy contact me in St. Pete, and they were like close to downtown, and I was already doing Lyft at the time, and I was like, this would be perfect. And but that fell through, and then I was actually gonna pay for a spot that was like downtown in a backyard, and I was just like, I really don't want to pay. I know that there's gonna be something. And just like that, the morning that I was getting ready to move to go to that spot, I got an email from the person I ended up going and staying with for the winter. Thank you, Kim. I got an email that morning when I was getting ready to go to that other spot, and she was like, yeah, you can come by tomorrow. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna hold out and see if this one is better, because I'd rather not pay. And she basically wanted a handy woman, which I was excited to do, because one, it would get me outside or inside and just doing stuff. And so I went and visited her the next day. Basically, what she wanted was her house painted. She had started painting her house in the front with this beautiful green color, which I was just like, and so I got to paint the whole house. It took me a couple weeks. I did it once a week for a couple hours a day, and she was good with that. And then once I finished doing the house, I moved on to other projects, which was basically a lot of yard work, which I was excited to do as well, because one day I want to have like a homestead with a food forest and a garden and earthship and all this stuff, and I don't know anything about any of that stuff. So I was excited to learn, and she was actually really knowledgeable about plant identification. She put me up, she had fruit growing all over the place. There was a star fruit tree right in front of where I was parked. There was a mulberry tree on the back of the house. Like, it was spectacular. On top of that, she had a pool and a hot tub. And I was parked on, I won't say it's the backyard, because it's kind of like, there's two backyards, I guess. It splits the house. There's 2 yards on each side. She was on a corner lot, and I was in one of the backyards, and I was there. I got 110. I got water, and also laundry and Wi-Fi, which was more than I could even ask for. And I had a dope time there. And I found her. She found me on Craigslist. So the moral of the story of bartering is, don't be afraid to just see what's out there. I didn't think it was possible until I did it, and now I've done it 3 times. So I stayed with her I got to Florida in November, and I was in Riverview from November to December, and then from December to May, I was at Cam's house, and that was the best one of all of them so far. So that's basically a little over a year of living for free in my RV, not counting the time that I was at my mom's house. And it was just basically barter camping. And so if you have a skill that is valuable to somebody else, that maybe you don't want to go to a campground and have all these people around you, or whatever your reasons are, this is one way to do it. And this is my favorite way of doing it so far, because I created the opportunities for myself, and then I attracted those things, and they ended up working out great, and I got exactly what I wanted out of doing it. And if I can do it again, I'm gonna do it again. And I encourage you to not be afraid to just try. So recently I decided that I'm gonna be headed to Colorado for the summertime, and I decided to test out this barter camping idea again in Colorado in different places. So I went ahead and placed a few ads in different areas in Colorado, and I got quite a few responses. So right now you see me going through a bunch of these responses to see, if anything would fit. And a lot of times people respond with not enough information, and so I usually just send them back a response saying, please tell me more about what you would like in exchange for what you are offering, and or what are you offering in exchange if they didn't put that. So I do a lot of that in this, but some of them are just blatant out stupid or weird or rude. I just delete those ones, and I just keep moving through the next ones. And if they get that little auto response kind of thing or copy and paste response from me, sometimes those people don't respond because they were just messing around in the first place. And then some people do respond with information, and then we start a banter back and forth through email before I reach out and talk to them. I had quite a few good ones, but most of these didn't have enough information, or they were just creepers in disguise. So, but I did get a few that were just people that want to hang out and chill. I did on this ad, I did mention about my YouTube channel, so that brought people to my YouTube channel, but also they got to see what I'm doing and why I'm wanting to come to Colorado and do some type of exchange. So I'm going to continue to go through these. My plan might change for how I travel in Colorado. I may not want to be sitting in one place for too long, but now I know that I have some options. So when I get closer to planning that, I can hit these people up and see if they were serious. So I just wanted to show you that this is still possible. Like, if you look in my inbox, I have quite a few emails. I responded to quite a few emails, and I deleted quite a few emails. But this is basically how I do it. And I just trust my gut, and also if they put in a location, I go and check it on the map to see, if there's grocery stores nearby that I like to shop at. Is there things to do in that town? How far are those things to do in that town? Just to kind of feel out the area. But that's basically it. Well, that's all I have for work camping and barter camping. If you have any other questions about how I did it, or you need some advice on how to do it or go about it, leave a comment down below and I'll try to get back with you. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, share, comment, and subscribe. That's all from me. Peace and blessings. I'm out.